Just days ago, Donald Trump took to social media and declared, in his trademark all-caps style, that the United States had achieved a massive, unprecedented victory against Iran. He tweeted, "We have totally defeated the Iranian regime. Biggest win ever." He reiterated the same rhetoric multiple times. While on actual ground, Pentagon is quietly sliding a third nuclear-powered aircraft carrier into the Arabian Sea. You don't deploy a third carrier strike group if the war is over. Meanwhile, in Tehran, Iranian officials completely rejected the latest ceasefire draft, citing an ongoing, suffocating United States naval blockade. This indicates only one reality. Ceasefire between US and Iran is not happening, and big conflict is inevitable. I know it is hard to believe, but the reality on ground tells the different story. When this offensive kicked off, the strategy from Washington and Tel Aviv was incredibly straightforward. Unleash a shock and awe decapitation strike, crippling Iran's nuclear infrastructure and military command in mere days. And they did. The United States and Israel genuinely expected a swift regime change. They bet the house that the Iranian people, squeezed by brutal hyperinflation and intense international isolation, would immediately overthrow their regime the moment the bombs started falling. But that bet backfired spectacularly. Instead of fracturing, the Iranian leadership consolidated power. It was a big shock for both US and Israel, who were expecting that it will be a matter of days. But this strikes turned into full-fledged war that spread into Middle Eastern countries, which were attacked by Iran in retaliation. What was expected to end in few days turned into full-fledged war going for months without any decisive outcome for US and Israel. The initial phase actually saw a brief, sudden lull in hostilities, a rare moment of sudden peace where back-channel negotiations sparked. But leadership in Washington and Tel Aviv immediately squandered it. They prioritized maximalist goals, demanding total surrender over pragmatic de-escalation. They severely miscalculated the resilience of a nation that has spent 40 years preparing for this exact doomsday scenario. So now, the swift victory is dead, replaced by a brutal, grinding stalemate that has trapped three nations in a geopolitical death spiral they simply cannot escape. Let's talk about exactly why the current ceasefire talks are failing so miserably. Iran has absorbed hundreds of billions of dollars in infrastructure damage. Whole vital sectors of their energy grid are completely offline, yet they are negotiating from a position of absolute, stubborn confidence. Why? Because their swift retaliation to the joint American and Israeli aggression completely derailed the coalition's primary objectives. Tel Aviv wanted a totally neutralized threat, but what they got was a daily barrage of hypersonic ballistic missiles that their Iron Dome and David's Sling systems are struggling to intercept with complete consistency. See, it is easy to bomb a country from 30,000 feet, but capturing and holding it is a totally different game. The United States military is facing a massive, paralyzing reluctance to put actual boots on the ground in Iranian territory. Public pressure at home is completely against to another Middle Eastern quagmire. 78% of American voters strictly oppose a ground invasion. But beyond the polling, there is the brutal, unforgiving geographical reality of Iran. This is a mountainous fortress nation of nearly 90 million people, roughly 3 times the size of France. Invading it means that US soldiers will have to fight guerrilla tactics in unfamiliar terrain, and there will be bloodbath of soldiers from both sides. US may become victorious, but the question is, at what cost? The Pentagon knows this fact perfectly well. The United States already spent over $2.5 trillion during the global war on terror in Afghanistan, but failed. The national debt is cresting above $37 trillion. Financing a multi-year occupation is economic suicide. Tehran knows Washington is clearly bluffing about an invasion. They know the United States only wants a clean, sterile air war. But air wars do not ever secure complex, lasting ceasefires. They only create rubble, resentment, and an enemy that has absolutely zero incentive to surrender on America's terms. Here is the thing about Iran. They did not just wake up and decide to fight the American empire yesterday. They have been preparing for this specific conflict for decades. They built a sprawling, asymmetrical network of proxy militias across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. This localized shield allows Iran to heavily engage its rivals across multiple fronts without constantly taking direct hits on its own soil. It is a brilliant, ruthless franchise model of warfare. And this escalating tension has handed Tehran the ultimate leverage: the global economy. By choking off crucial maritime trade routes, Iran has sent a massive, terrifying shockwave through global supply chains. Crude oil prices once have brutally surged past $140 a barrel. The global economy is bleeding billions daily. This is Iran's MasterCard. They are aggressively squeezing the wallet of the Western world. And frankly, behind those closed doors, the rhetoric is absolute poison. An intercepted diplomatic cable from the United States Secretary of State bluntly stated, "We must maintain maximum pressure. Any concession now is a total capitulation to terror." Meanwhile, Iran absolutely does not trust the United States. Honestly, why would they ever do that? Washington famously tore up the previous nuclear deal years ago. As the Supreme Leader explicitly warned on state television last week, negotiating with the Great Satan is a complete delusion. They offer peace with their mouths while their hands load the bombs. Even Israeli leadership is fully trapped in this rhetorical cage, with the defense minister publicly tweeting, "We will not stop until the dark shadow of Tehran is eradicated forever." When the key players are openly locking themselves into these uncompromising zero-sum public positions, finding a diplomatic off-ramp becomes mathematically impossible. Every single proposed compromise is immediately viewed as a total humiliating defeat. But this is not happening in a vacuum. You cannot understand this stalemate without looking east. Russia and China have thrown lifelines to Tehran. Moscow is supplying advanced electronic warfare systems, while Beijing is systematically buying up black market Iranian crude, bypassing the Western financial blockade. This external support is the oxygen keeping the Iranian war machine breathing. It boosts Iran's confidence to fight a long-term war against the United States and Israel. If a ceasefire happens without achieving Washington's core objectives, namely, completely clearing the Strait of Hormuz and guaranteeing the verifiable denuclearization of Iran, it will be universally recognized as a catastrophic geopolitical loss for the mighty US. Conversely, it will be an undeniable victory for Iran. Despite absorbing billions of dollars in economic damage and suffering thousands of terrible casualties, merely surviving a combined assault from the world's premier military superpower makes Tehran the undisputed winner of this exchange. So, here is the raw reality. This war is not going to end anytime soon. The situation on the ground is a permanent, slow bleed. Neither side is willing to back down, because stepping back means losing leverage and losing power. That third United States aircraft carrier sliding into the region is not there to monitor a treaty. It is a floating fortress, a clear signal that America is preparing for a much bigger regional war. Unless, of course, Iran simply folds and accepts every single United States demand, which, as we have definitely seen recently, they are absolutely never going to do. What we are sadly left with is a highly fragile, explosive structure waiting for the next massive shock. There is no grand resolution coming, no diplomatic miracle waiting in the wings, just more ships, more debt, and a deeply unstable world quietly inching closer to the edge.